Let's talk more about this and what the Orioles do coming up today as we get ready for the 6 p.m. in the trade deadline. I think I just saw that this dude is doing like a marathon today. Like he's doing like I'm going to stream all day long, and still hopped on with us today. Ryan Ripken Show, 105.7 The Fan. You know this, MASN as well. He's our buddy Ryan Ripken, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dude, so are you really doing this and then doing like 100 consecutive hours of streaming or something?
Yeah, it's something up there. We're running from 12 to 7 through the deadline. I actually, in the middle of it, I'm going to do an event over at the stadium today. So I'm really double dipping, but I'm doing this event, a mental health training camp, because you know how much I also care about with coaches and athletes, the next generation. It just so happens that it all falls on this deadline. So me and my team, we're rocking and rolling from 12 to 7 this day. And let's put it this way, Glenn. I think the moves are far from over.
Yeah,
for the rest of the day.
Yeah. There's so much that I want to cover, and I know I can't keep because you got shows to do. I'll start just because it's the conversation we were just having. How do we have the adult conversation about what the Dodgers are? That it's not necessarily their fault, but that the system is skewed to benefit them, and whether or not the system needs to be completely rebuilt in order to fix baseball moving forward.
Yeah, I know a lot of people aren't happy with the Dodgers in this circumstance. Specifically this one, of all the things, this isn't the part that I think fans should be upset with the Dodgers for. Because, the trade package itself, other teams could have made it. The thing is, how much do you think you can retain Skubal after this year, right? That's where this whole conversation goes. And sorry about that. There's chaos everywhere right now.
You're good, buddy. You're good.
But overall, the main thing with the Dodgers and the main thing with Major League Baseball is they need to address a lot of competitive balance conversations. And it just so happens that this move ignites a lot of emotions, but this isn't the one move that for me changes any of the conversations that you're going to have, if that makes sense. So, and here's the thing, maybe just because I know baseball is really hard, I think people do forget, even with how great the Dodgers are and on paper how good they can be, they were just swept by the hottest team in baseball in the Boston Red Sox. Mm-hmm. They weren't saved by a superstar in the World Series last year. It was saved by the bat and glove of Miguel Rojas, right? So you have to go out and play the game. I think the bigger part is these contracts, Glenn. Kyle Tucker getting $60 million a year. The amount that they can throw out this money and they have the revenue generated that they don't have. They have more options than other teams. But I also think for other baseball teams, if we're talking about this year, just this year, could have other teams have gotten Tarik Skubal to win a World Series this year? I think the answer is yes. Just other teams opted not to do it because they want to say, well, we can't do it for the future. No, if your goal is to win now in the American League is the most open I've ever seen it. And so for a lot of teams, you could have gotten the best pitcher, arguably the top pitcher in all of baseball, and you chose not to for a chance at a World Series title this year. Yeah, it's short-sighted, but that's also the goal, at least in my mind. You want to win, but that's not every team's goal in the big picture.
It's such a macro versus micro conversation, because on the micro, I don't inherently disagree with you, Ryan, but the macro to me is still very real, which is
right.
It just is easier, and it comes back to this question of, is the system so irreparably broken, or at least beneficial to the Dodgers? You could argue the Mets, the Yankees too, although they don't try to take advantage of it. At least the Yankees the same way. Although, here they are still adding a Luis Garcia. Like, they're definitely going to be in a better place to be aggressive. Is it so beneficial to them that it is worth whatever the cost is season-wise next year to try to break and reform the system?
Well, and it's like I said, this is why you can make arguments every which way about this whole scenario, right? Because at the end of the day, people don't like what's happened, at least in some cases with the Dodgers, but it's also the bigger question of, with teams and ownerships, of what is the game plan? What is the goal? If the goal is to win a World Series and you have a great chance to win it and you haven't won, would you want to take a risk? So let's just say in this case, in Baltimore here, it's been 43 years. We're well aware of that. If Skubal was available for this year and you can't get him next year, but you have him this year to go win a World Series in this American League, would you take that risk?
Yeah.
Right. So like when I think as much as we're looking at the complaints and of teams saying we can't do this, no, teams can do this, but you think it can set you back. And it is different. Like, this is the other part where it's a bigger conversation. If the Rays or the Brewers or any of these other teams that are top 10 or bottom 10 in payroll, they need to develop really well. They need to hit on their guys, and they can't afford to mess up some of these decisions or it could set them back, right? So now they do spend a little bit, but they have to be really calculated with their choices. So if they make a drastic move, they feel they better get it right. The Dodgers, on their case, they have a great farm system that no one talks about, that their president of baseball operations came from the Rays back when.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also have no limitations on the amount of money they can go out and say, do we want a guy, yes or no? Yes, okay, let's go get him. So that's really where the conversation for me, Glenn, lies. But overall, again, just this move. If you wanted Skubal and your goal was to win in 2026, that was doable for other teams given the packaging that the deal went for. And last thing I'll say, spending a lot of money ain't going to guarantee you that you're going to be winning games, right? The Blue Jays, great year they had last year. They're, I think, top 5 in payroll. So are the Mets. And those teams have been, very disappointing up until this point of the season.
Ryan Ripken with us here on GCR. Ryan, if we find out today that the Orioles have traded Adley Rutschman, and there has been the tea leaves have pointed that direction, what would the return need to look like to you to justify doing this now when you still have a year and a half of control?
What justifies it is you get everything that you want and maybe then more. You have to be so convicted to make this type of deal, because you don't need to trade him. You don't. But here's the situation when you look at the market. Controllable starting pitching is what people always want. And then right now, the next best thing that's still hard to get, but it's still teams have a need for it, is the catching position. It's a premium. That's why the Rockies are saying, hey, we don't want to trade Hunter Goodman, but if you got some offers, we'd like to hear them. We don't want to trade him, but I guarantee you throw something out there that makes them think, well, maybe this can happen. We should look at it. Then the other part with Adley specifically, and I really think this really kind of changed in the last 2 weeks, and when you look at with Adley, how confident do you feel that you're going to keep Adley beyond this year or beyond, the 2 years? And is the team going to give you everything that you exactly want? Because at the end of the day, you did extend another catcher. I would love to see Adley in Baltimore for the foreseeable future, but business decisions are business decisions.
Mm-hmm.
If you think there's a package out there that is going to help your ball club now and for later, for a very well-loved face of the franchise guy, I know that's a hard thing. You have to look at it. Now, I don't think, though, if the deal's not there, Glenn, then you don't trade him. You don't move it. But you got to be 110% convicted on this move if you're going to trade a player of Adley's caliber, because, when he's on the field, he is such a game changer at the catching position.
To me, it has to be major league ready outfield or frontline pitching type of help. Ryan, I don't think that we're talking enough about, this to me is code. Well, we learned it goes beyond code red when we had the smoke in the air. I think it's code purple is the worst one. This to me is code purple when it comes to the outfield. It is, you need help now. You need help next year. You need help. I know that Enrique Bradfield's starting to hit a little bit, and so you hope, but there still is, to me, a limit to what he is as a hitter at the major league level. It is bleak. To me, I think if you're doing this, it has to be because you're acquiring something that is legitimately a soon game changer in the outfield or potential frontline starting pitching in order to justify it right now.
Yeah, I think the main packages will be frontline starting pitching, and I think high prospects and there could be an arm out there, but let's look at this. The Angels just traded Soriano to the Jays, right? The Angels and Orioles don't seem like good trade partners. Why? Well, the Orioles want something for right now. The Angels want something for the down the road, right? So that wouldn't make sense for that controllable thing. And Soriano and Reed Detmer's two of the names for the Angels that people are eyeing. But I'm with you, Glenn, on to the whole landscape of the Orioles team. Next year, your infield will be set again. If in my mind, it's going to be Westberg's back, Gunner's there, Jackson Holliday to me, and then Pete Alonso. And then, by the way, you got Sammy Basayo behind home plate, and say Adley's still here. You have both those guys. So that's already set. What isn't set is who is going to be your outfield. And I think that's one of the biggest question marks. And I don't think, Glenn, that answer is going to be determined here at the deadline. But what can be determined if you make some other moves is maybe you start prioritizing some of these players to get that final look of who do you want to see. So for me, like Dylan Beavers, I really like the way he swings the bat. I really like what he can be. Will he get more run if you move a guy like Taylor Ward to open it up? But above all, I'm getting off topic with this. I think if Adley gets traded, it's a frontline arm that is in that deal that they feel can add to a rotation with Bradish and Boz and Brandon Young, who will be with the team next year. That's a really good trio. We'll see what's going to happen with Trevor Rogers. If he ends up staying long-term and you get a controllable arm with extreme upside, then you're looking at a rotation that can be extremely formidable moving forward. So that's where my gut's telling me, and the outfield conversation personally will be something they'll have to address more in the offseason.
Two ones real quick, and then I'll let you go. One, the rumors about them listening on Jackson Holliday, I think caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
To me, the only way that I could justify something, like I brought up, like, what if they were talking to the Twins about Byron Buxton, right? Like, I could listen. I don't want to do it, but I could listen to that. I am otherwise just short of like Jackson Holliday, for whatever reason, is telling them privately he wants out. I just can't fathom what the thought process would be.
With anything, it goes back to you can listen. You can listen to offers. Doesn't mean you have to take the offers, but you want to see what would there be bites. Now are you asking me specifically what would I do? What I think will happen?
Yeah.
Jackson Holliday is a Baltimore Oriole for a very long time. That's my opinion. And I think, but what I want is let the guy go out there and play. Let the guy go out there and figure it out. If I were another team and the Orioles really wanted to trade Jackson, I would be extremely aggressive to go get him because a 22-year-old that we don't know what he can possibly become, I am banking on that because what I've seen over Jackson Holliday again this month and what I watched last year is a guy that's still trying to figure things out. But, man, there is a hit tool about him, and there is an understanding of the game. And I think that we're very quick to rush and judge how prospects turn out. And I think that it's unfair when you have that high of expectations and given the injuries. And then at some point, you will make a verdict, but that's wide open. For what I'm seeing a guy that can play every day. Is he the everyday second baseman? We'll figure that out as it goes, but keep in mind, he was asked to figure out second base in the big leagues. And so he's working through all of that, but I like his makeup. That one, that's a big NO to me on Jackson being moved. I'm just really bullish on him, Glenn. And this is the part where I say you had the right to draft him, develop him. I want to see him through, and I just want to see him through out there every single day for the Baltimore Orioles the rest of the year.
Ryan, lastly, would there be any justification at all to nothing bold happening? Would there be any justification whatsoever to this day ending and the Orioles saying we're going to largely stay on pat and we're 2.5 games out and we'll let the chips fall where they may?
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing is don't make a move just to make a move. I don't think that the Orioles, I think they're more in selling than they are in buying at this point. There's nothing, since we just talked about the outfield position. Who are you bringing in? If you bring someone in, they got to play every single day. And I don't know where that fits into the equation for this moment in time because, you have O'Neill and Taveras, Cowser. If Ward gets moved, then that opens up some spot, some playing time. I just don't see how that plays out personally. So when you're looking at buying, I don't see that. Unless they're going to get crazy and say, hey, Mason Miller and the Padres, or we want to try to do something here, which that would be the boldest, most shocking thing we would have seen probably in Orioles history. And no doubt in this era, I would be shocked if, Mike Elias wanted to make that price. It's not going to happen, right? The Yankees, apparently all those conversations out there, they want Mason Miller. That's pretty evident. And here's the thing. You don't do anything. You're right. You're right here. This American League, there's no team that puts fear in you. And I don't mean that in a bad way. The Rays are really good. The Yankees have a good staff.
No,
the Red Sox are the hottest team
by
in
far,
baseball.
I think the Red Sox are the only. To me, they're the favorites, like bar none at the moment.
And you feel for the Orioles, you should have won 2 or 3 in Boston.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, my point is, no team you sit there and go, they are so head and shoulders better than us in the American League that we have zero shot. Well, it's your division rivals are 3 of the best teams in the league, and you can match up against your division rivals. The White Sox, Guardians, Twins, I like all those teams. I love what the Twins are doing. I think it was a great move for them getting Dean for the upside of that. They're all in it, and then the West is still to be determined. Oh, and by the way, the Houston Astros, a team that you swept, is now that team building momentum out there. So, yeah, if you stand pat, I wouldn't be surprised, because you have a very good opportunity to make the playoffs because of how the situation is playing out. So all I know is this, Glenn, nothing surprises me anymore. Like, truly, nothing surprises me when it comes to moves. I just hope in this case, and I know as much as people have been frustrated, you're trying to make the right decisions moving forward. And I do believe the Orioles, and they shouldn't, they're not going to make a move just to make a move. They're going to make a move that they believe has long-term effects to help the Orioles here change things for years to come.
At Ryan Ripken Show, and again, he'll be for the next 100 hours, other than when he runs out to help to tell people about mental health, which is important, and we appreciate that. You'll be watching him on the stream. Love you, brother. Always appreciate it. Let's talk real soon. All right.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a recap here, and we'll catch up. And I'm buckle up here.
Yep,
I
no
think
doubt.
it's gonna get bumpy here for the next few hours. But always love coming on with you. Have a great day.
Thank you, buddy. Ryan Ripken with us here, Pride of Gilman here on GCR. Appreciate him doing that.